guys, I've got a good video for you here today. We're going to do some dino ribs, beef ribs. I've bought them from Costco, cost about £9 a rack. That's about what, $11.50 a rack. We're going to do them on the Summit. I'm going to cook them Franklin style, which is cooking them around about 275 degrees rather than going really low and slow. I'm anticipating this cook is going to take probably around 6 hours, maybe a bit less, maybe slightly more, but that's what I'm counting on. Come out early, we'll put them into rest, so no problem. So let's get the Summit set up, and I'll show you setting it up, and then we'll get the ribs prepped and we'll get them on, because time is short. We've got some pigeons out today, I don't know if you can hear them. We're going to put some hickory. This is my charcoal I did a cook last night. I've got a mixture of briquettes and charcoal in here that's left over, big block, some briquettes. So we're going to get some hickory, get that buried underneath, and just use this stuff. It's pretty good. Some nice hickory in there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some briquettes on top. And as usual, I'm going to use the minion method. So let's get that, best to get the wood, I think, buried. So I'm going to use the minion method, which means putting the charcoal in the middle, hot from a chimney, and then it spreads out and cooks around. So we want to leave a hole in the middle where we're going to light the charcoal. So as usual, I don't use many briquettes in there, less than probably just a third full. Put a couple of firelighters in, get those lit. Trying to do it one-handed as usual. Put that in. They'll light, give them 10-15 minutes to light. Put them in the middle. That's the minion method. It's perfect for doing ribs and things, long cooks. This is how I always set up the grill. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use today the deflector plate, and I actually quite like putting a water pan on. I think it acts as an heat sink and keeps a bit of moisture in there, so I'm going to put a water pan on as well. And here's a bit of a tip for you. When you use the water pan on a deflector plate, put 3 rolled up pieces of foil, balled up pieces, put that on top, and the water from the pan doesn't evaporate nearly as quickly as it would do if it was sat directly on the deflector plate. Okay, so we've put the water pan on. Boiling water acts as an heat sink, as I say, on top of those 3 little balls to keep it off the deflector plate, and we're going to get this up to 275. I don't tend to cook anything nowadays at less than 275. If you look at how the pits, say in Texas, run in all the restaurants, you'll see they do it. They all cook at like 275. They're not cooking at 225. There's no need. I don't think. It lays a little bit more smoke down, but that's the only advantage. So this is the way I like to do it. And this is, if you've got a Summit, I find this gets the best results. I found the Summit thermometer to be really accurate. It's really good. It tends to be probably about only 10 degrees less than this on the actual grate, which is understandable because this is higher up. So what we're going to do is, I've got it on smoke setting at the bottom, and if you don't know what that is, watch one of my other videos, watch how I show you how to operate the Summit on my some of my other videos. Leave this open, watch this climb, probably take about 10 minutes. As it's reaching about 250, we'll begin to shut it down and balance it and control it all by this. So it should then sit at 275. I don't think there's any need for thermometers on a cook like this. I'm going to come back after about 4 hours, check the ribs after they go on. No need to be have thermometers in it. This thing will hold 275 no problem for the next 4 hours, so no need to worry about it. So let's prep these ribs. Very easy to do, not much prep. They come already trimmed from Costco, and you don't want to be taking that fat off. I have seen somebody once on a video say they took the fat off the top. No, you don't want to do that, particularly if you live in the UK. In the UK, the beef tends to be a lot less fatty than it is in, say, America, where it's grain-fed. This is all grass-fed stuff. One of the reasons I like to cook at 275, because it can dry out easier. Aaron Franklin will just tend to use the salt and pepper rub. I'm a bit lazy, I can't be bothered doing that. I'm going to use this instead. This is called Dirty Cow, Meat Lab, Angus and Oink. If you live in the UK, this is Angus and Oink make the best rubs. They've got a massive selection. And this one is, what's this one got in it? Mocha coffee, pepper, umami, booster, salt, coffee, sugar, paprika, celery salt, cumin, anise, onion, garlic, oregano, chipotle. Absolutely fantastic. And Aaron Franklin and I agree, he likes to use a hot sauce. I'm just using sriracha. You can use any hot sauce just to act as a bit of a binder, and it also gives it a little bit of flavour, not much, most of it cooks off. So we're going to put this on, rub this on first. Get my glove on properly would help. Some on that side. Now you don't really, again, I'm not going to foil these ribs. I don't think there's any need to do it. The reason being is they've got a bit of 3 bones totally covering the bottom, so that protects them from the heat and tends to keep the moisture in. Some think foil at 160 degrees Fahrenheit roughly. I don't bother, and I'm going to pull them off when they pass the test, which I'll show you later, which is really soft probing, probably around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're just going to put some of this rub on. Not too much on these. Beautiful. Get some on the edges. And there we go, and guess what? The pit is still warming up. It's at 225, so we'll give that another 5 minutes on the pit and let that stabilise then. And then these will be going on for 4 hours, and I won't even look at them for 4 hours, and then we might spritz them at 4 hours in. Right, this is a Summit video, and you'll see we're now on 260, so I'm thinking about now I'm going to start dialing this down. I always think on Summit videos it's useful for people to show their settings. There's variables in terms of how big your initial fire is and everything else, so, but you do sort of get used to it and how to control it and what it's going to do. And I think now if we shut it down, I'm thinking about 1/3 open. So what we need to do now is watch this. It will continue to climb a bit because this will take a bit of time to react, but I'm thinking it should now stabilise, hopefully won't overshoot too much before it gets to, I want to keep it below 300, because remember it's probably going to be 10 degrees lower on the actual pit itself, so we want to be keeping, it's now on what, heading up to 270 now, so sort of 270 to 280 is fine. So you'll see it's slowed down. Let's just watch it now. And the thing about it, what you've got, the secret to this is getting this stable before you put the meat on. If you put it on, say now, and it's still going up, you don't know what's happening. Make sure it's stable and then put the meat on. And there we go, 5 minutes later. This is how good this is. And if you know the cooker, look at that, 2.7, maybe about 2.78 according to that. Now, I don't mind it if it goes up to 290 or if it goes down to 250. I want to keep it within that range. I don't go down to 225. I find it can dry this meat out. No point. It also takes ages to cook. So this is my ideal temperature for pulled pork, brisket, the lot. So time to put the meat on. Look at that. Beautiful. Pop it in the middle. I tend to find my Summit tends to burn probably a bit over to the left for some reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the thicker part of the rib over on the left, but it is pretty central, but we'll see how that goes. And it's 10:30. We'll check back in 4 hours. Right guys, we're nearly 4 hours in. Temperature is on 260, so we've lost about 10 or so degrees over the last 4 hours. Let's open it up. I'm going to give it a little bit of a probe and see how soft it is, see how it's doing, and we are going to spritz with some water. So let's have a look at this. Oh, it's coming on nicely, isn't it? Bones are starting to pull back. Membranes, they seem to be moving that way and that way. This is split a bit here, interestingly. Looking very, very juicy. Let's just focus in on that for you. Probably get the camera a bit closer. There we go. Let's show you. So coming on nicely. Let's give them a probe and see what they're looking like. I can tell they've still got some way to go yet. $175. Already softening up quite nicely. Going in quite easily, to be fair. 177 on this thinner side at this end. So coming on nicely. Already beautifully soft, but they need further, they need more. So let's give them a spritz. Just try and stop these edges from burning. There we go. I'm thinking probably another hour, another 2 hours. Should be done by about 4:30, and then they'll be out for a good hour's rest. But we'll see. We'll check back in. It's nearly 2:30 now. I think we'll check back at 3:30 and see how they're going in an hour. Right, guys. So we're another hour on now. So they've been on for 5 hours. Look at that temperature. It's gone up slightly. As I say, you do get slight variations as different bits of wood catch, but it's been really rock solid now for 5 hours without me having to do anything. So let's take a look. 5 hours, they might nearly be done now, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. Oh wow. Let's do the bark test. Let me just focus on this. Right. Nice bark. Probably could do with a little bit of firming up, but let's see. If it's done, it's done. It's going to have to come off. Oh wow. 200. Not a little bit harder there. Slightly harder there. Slightly harder there. That's nice there. So at these edges, look. What you can do is you can push straight through. If you don't get a crack as it goes through the membrane, there it's nearly done. Look at that there. That's fantastic. So I'm going to give it, we're not far off. I'm going to give it another half an hour. I thought I'd be wrapping it, but we're not quite there. Another half an hour and it'll be perfect. Right guys, we're now 3 hours in. Another half an hour since I last checked, so I think these must be done now. Let's have a look. Looking good, aren't they? Looking good. Looking juicy. Let's get a close-up. Nicely pulled back on the bone. Gone a bit from both ends. So let's focus in on them a sec. Let's get this focused in. Right, let's give it the test. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes, indeed. I had to take these to about 210 all over to get them done. But look at that. On its own weight, I won't even put any press on it. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Right, we'll get these off and we'll rest them in the cooler for a good half an hour. And they're going to be ready to eat. They're looking fabulous. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to wrap them. 2 layers of, let them rest. Wrap them in a towel. Clean towel. Like so. Pop them in a cooler. We could actually just leave them without wrapping them up and putting them in the cooler, but we're not probably going to be eating for 3/4 of an hour. So it's probably just to keep them nice and warm. There we go, and next video will be coming out to show you how they are cut and what they look like, but I can tell you now they're incredibly juicy. Right, so this is the finished product. And let's see how it looks. So let's cut down. Oh, it's so soft. Cut through the membrane on the bottom. Look at the juice in that. That is incredible. Wow. Melts in the mouth. I'll just give you a close-up. So, let's get this focused. Look at juice in there. Absolutely beautiful. So there we are, beef ribs. Let's enjoy.